and welcome back to another episode of the Exos Heroes Hero Spotlight. And today we'll be talking about Maggie, the young chief of the Hexcraft Research Center. So overall, Maggie is an AoE focused damage dealer with passive damage buffs and Dragon Holy Ground utility. A good pull on her own, and her Fate Core lets her compete with the best, and we'll tell you why. So let's take a quick look at Maggie. So she's a fated hero, attack position with a fire element, and her attack type is magic type. So with that being said, let's take a quick look at her skills.
Right, so Maggie, like any other hero, has a basic attack. Hers does 519 to 625 damage to a single target. Her A1 is Cube Acceleration, which is a 1 mana ability that deals 102% damage to all enemies. And we could take a look at it here. It's pretty cool. Her A2 is Photon Pentahydron. Pretty sure that's not a real thing. It costs 3 mana, and it deals 178% damage to all enemies. Now, if we want to take a look at her passive here, the first part is Mana Utilization 3, which increases attack based on allies' mana count, and gains 1 mana if allies' mana count is at 10 or more on the turn, and gains 1 mana if enemies' mana count is at 10 or more on the turn. And as we can see here, she also has Dragon Knight's Blessing, increased damage to dragons with Dragon Scale of Order by 250, and Head Dragon Knight, which decreases damage from Raging Breath by 50%, and increases damage reduction to the allies with Dragon Knight's Blessing by 20% additional, cannot stack with other Head Dragon Knight. So now that we have a good overview of her skills, why don't we jump into the discussion?
Okay, so with both actives targeting all enemies for decent damage and at a relatively low cost, Maggie stands out as a significant AoE threat, especially if she is able to proc her mana utilization passive. Without any utility in her actives though, and the Dragon Knight's passives only being useful in Holy Dragon Grounds content, she is pretty simple to understand and overall functions as a more consistent but lower damage potential version of Bathory. But with that being said, Maggie does get a significant step up once you have her Fate Core, so let's take a quick look at that.
Now, if we want to take a look at Maggie's Fate Core, her actives don't actually change that much. The biggest change is in her passive, where she gets 4 additional passives, essentially. Now, this is kind of confusing at first, but the first 2 that we're going to talk about are actually more of a ramp up to get to the active portions of her passive, so to speak. So why don't we take a look at that? It starts out with the Great One, as you can see on the bottom here, which grants the Great One mark to the 4 highest attack heroes in the same row as Maggie. Now, if an ally with this mark is attacked, it grants a Dragon's Blood mark. So let's talk about Dragon's Blood. If a target marked with Dragon's Blood is attacked again, gain the Dragon's Blood mark again for a max of 7. If the marked target doesn't take a hit for 2 turns, lose all Dragon's Blood marks. Now, let's talk about Wrath and Dragon Scale, which is really what Dragon's Blood is all about. Wrath. Once every turn when attacked, allies marked with Dragon's Blood will counter, dealing 50% damage for every Dragon's Blood mark on them. And Dragon Scale, once every turn upon taking damage, grant a barrier of 100% of Maggie's defense for each Dragon Blood mark to all Dragon Blood marked allies for 10 turns, and this cannot be stacked. So this might still be a little bit confusing. Let's try to break this down. You can rewind to get the specifics, but basically, if you attack anyone in Maggie's row twice, do not attack them again, or else they'll counter you, and the more you attack the same target, the more damage they counter for. And once every round, if you attack Maggie, she gives everyone with the Dragon's Blood mark a barrier which stacks the more marks they have for 10 turns. As you can see here, her Fate Core is just absolutely ridiculous, and the utility it provides her team, both defensive and offensive, is strong in all types of content, but especially so in PvP. And we just look at her skills here. I think even with her Fate Core, you're still getting some of that, Hexcraft scientific vibe. It's very geometric. There's lots of, explosions and this sort of scholarly vibe, this sort of laboratory vibe that you could pick up. And I just think that it's very interesting that they've been able to emulate that in her Fate Core as well. And that's it for us today. If you have any thoughts on Maggie, please let us know in the comments. To see more reviews of Exo heroes, feel free to check out our other content. We have a full guide on all of the Fated Defense heroes out, so go give that a look. If you like this video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you guys next time.
All right, see you guys.